State bureaucracies play a major role in the economy, but their performance varies widely across countries. While some embody the Weberian ideal of order and efficiency, others are Kafkaesque in their disorganization. Notably, these categories are not fixed over time. Throughout history, some highly efficient bureaucracies have collapsed to the other extreme. This paper argues that political instability can spark these transitions. The idea is that starting from a state of Weberian order, brief periods of instability can start a chain reaction that permanently mires a bureaucracy in disorder and inefficiency. To illustrate the dynamics at play, consider the following model. Suppose there are two parties engaged in public policy: politicians who pass laws, and the bureaucracy that implements them. Politicians operate on a limited political horizon and aim to maximize their reputation as skillful reformers over that time frame. While competent politicians design good reforms, incompetent politicians design useless reforms. Competence is not publicly observed, and the quality of a reform is only revealed to voters once it is implemented. This means that the level of bureaucratic efficiency determines how quickly voters learn about their politicians. In this model, efficiency is a decreasing function of the number of past reforms that still need to be implemented. When this number is low, efficiency is high, and new reforms are swiftly and transparently implemented, allowing voters to accurately observe their quality. But when the bureaucracy is overloaded and efficiency is low, reforms are implemented slowly, if at all, and multiple reforms can overlap, making it difficult to infer the quality of any individual law. This fact shapes the behavior of incompetent politicians. The incentive to pass useless reforms is greater when the political horizon is shorter and when the bureaucracy is more inefficient. In both cases, politicians can signal competence by passing reforms, but face little risk that the reforms will actually be implemented and revealed as low quality within the political horizon. As a result, the following dynamic can arise. Starting from an equilibrium with an efficient bureaucracy and few useless reforms, suppose there is a temporary shock of political instability. This shortens the political horizon, which increases the incentive for incompetent politicians to propose useless reforms. This flood of low-quality laws overloads the bureaucracy and lowers efficiency, which itself further incentivizes the production of useless reforms, which further overloads the bureaucracy, and so on and so forth. Importantly, this dynamic can persist long after the initial shock has dissipated, as future politicians continue to inherit a bureaucracy saddled with past reforms. In this fashion, the economy descends into a new Kafkaesque equilibrium with an inefficient bureaucracy and many useless reforms. To explore these dynamics empirically, the authors apply this framework to the instability that arose between the First and Second Italian republics. During the First Republic, the political system was characterized by a stable balance of power and policy agenda. But the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War ushered in a period initially marked by high levels of instability. Governing coalitions changed frequently, new political parties rose and fell, and elections were more frequent. As a result, individual politicians and governments faced substantially shorter political horizons. While First Republic MPs served an average of 11.5 years, Second Republic members served an average of only 6.5 years. Consistent with the model, this political instability was accompanied by a flood of low-quality legislation. Using text analysis to study all laws issued by the Italian Parliament from 1948 to 2016, the authors find that the average number of bills presented per day almost doubled, as did the number of new words of legislation. At the same time, there was a distinct deterioration in the quality of legislation. These measures are drawn from style manuals for the optimal drafting of laws. All four indicate that relative to those of the First Republic, Second Republic laws are drafted more poorly and are characterized by greater legal ambiguity and inaccessibility. Moreover, it appears that this excessive legislation did hamper Italian bureaucracy. The ICRG Index of Quality of Bureaucracy for Italy declined sharply during the Second Republic, and, correspondingly, public perception of the bureaucratic problem increased significantly. Italian newspapers today talk about bureaucracy roughly 3 times more than during the First Republic. Now, one potential concern is that these structural breaks might reflect other major changes that occurred at this time, rather than reflecting the impact of domestic political instability. However, over the same period, there were no analogous breaks in legislative or bureaucratic outcomes in Germany, a country that was exposed to the same systemic shocks as Italy, but whose political system remained stable. The authors also directly test the prediction that shortening the political horizon affects legislative incentives. Using microdata for Italian MPs, they show that relative to competent politicians, incompetent ones do produce worse laws on average and are more active in shorter terms. As a result, shorter legislatures lead to more and lower quality laws. In conclusion, this paper argues that brief periods of instability can trigger a chain reaction that permanently mires a bureaucracy in disorder. Note that a shortening of political horizons is only one channel that can drive these transitions. Instability can also increase the reform opportunities for competent politicians, but if they contribute to overloading the bureaucracy, then good reforms, as well as bad, can induce a slide into inefficiency. To read more on this topic, you can check out the paper's references to other related work. These include other studies of bureaucracies, politicians' career concerns, and the overproduction of public goods.